Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Investing with a Purpose show. My name is John Bones here at Equity Trust Company, and joining me on today's program is Lorraine. And Lorraine and her husband, Richard, have been using their self-directed IRAs for quite a few years now. In fact, Lorraine and her husband, Richard, were our very first Investors of the Year. They won our Investor of the Year award. That was probably close to 10 years ago now, and came out and spoke at one of our national conventions. And we wanted to get up to date on what Lorraine and Richard are doing with their self-directed IRAs here on our Investing with a Purpose show. We were so inspired by their initial story many years ago because they're not only growing wealth, creating wealth, and preserving wealth for themselves and their children, but they're also doing really great things in their community. So Lorraine, thank you so much for joining us on today's program. Let's start off by sharing with our audience a little bit about the most recent transaction that you've done with your self-directed IRA. And I understand that you have a transaction that you're completing as we speak. So why don't we talk about that one first?
This transaction that we're doing, we had bought houses previously. We decided that we would try a condo this time. And so what we're doing is we actually signed the paperwork today and then close on Thursday. And this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo in a very nice area with the tennis, the swimming pools and everything. So we're looking into maybe doing seasonal rather than annual rentals. So this is our first diverse way of doing it rather than a house.
And tell me a little bit about the property. This is going to be a rental, correct? So this is to be a long term. You're going to hold this in your IRA portfolio. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, but with living in Florida, there's a lot of seasonal rentals, which seasonal, it starts in about just right after Thanksgiving and can go all the way to March or April. This is people from the north escaping the snow, and they call them snowbirds. So they escape the snow, come down here, and then they go back home after the season's over. Of course, you make a lot more money if you do it seasonally than if you do it monthly. So we thought, well, maybe we can try that. The only thing is it will be fully furnished, which we've never quite done that before. It's usually been empty houses. So it's something a little bit different, a lot smaller than the houses that we bought in the past. So we were just hoping that it would be just as lucrative.
Okay. And can you share with us some of the projected financials associated with that property purchase, renovation costs, what you think the cash flow is going to look like on the property?
Basically, this is quite expensive compared to what we bought in the downturn 10 years ago, where you found a house that was 300,000 for 60, 70,000. The market down here has completely changed and has doubled in 2 years. So we paid $245 for this rental. It will the monthly income will be between $3,000 and $4,000 a month. For it. It's actually ready to move in. It's already furnished. There's no renovations really to be done. So it's key ready, basically.
And those renovation costs are going to be paid for from your IRA. So for our audience, all renovation costs will be paid for from the IRA. All profits, that $2,000 to $3,000 in rental income, will go directly back to Lorraine's IRA on a monthly basis.
Right.
Now, did you get a mortgage on this property, or was this where your IRA bought it as a cash buyer and will own it 100% outright? What does that look like for you?
Be 100% outright. That's what we've done in the past. How we actually accumulated. I mean, it's like my children go, how do you do it, Mom? And I said, well, this is a long term. You put money into an IRA, either traditional or a Roth, and it builds up over time. So I started when I was only 20 years old. And so it wasn't until my 40s that we found out about self-directed IRAs. And basically all the houses that we bought have been 100% in our IRA, either 50% Roth or 50% traditional. The first one we did was 50% cash, 50% Roth. I think the IRS don't like the mix and match of the cash flow. They like it just to be 100% IRA if you can. And so that's what we have done in the past. And we just sold a couple, and so I had enough money to go ahead and buy this condo.
Interesting. So in some of the earlier days for everybody, there is the potential, and you have to be careful in how you do it. To Lorraine's point, you got to make sure that you follow the rules. With her situation, she had a partnership between her IRA and herself personally, 50-50. So in a transaction like that, she would want to make sure that all profits and all expenses flow 50-50. That way, we're not creating a prohibited transaction.
Right.
Great example, Lorraine, because so many investors, they think, oh, well, I don't have enough money in an IRA or enough money in the IRA that I want to use to be able to invest in real estate. And there can be options through partnering with non-IRA funds or partnering with another investor's IRA funds, even a husband and wife possibly partnering, or two spouses partnering their IRAs together. Now that's for another training. So let me get back to the questions here for
We
you,
can
Lorraine.
do-
Yeah.
Yeah, because Richard and I both did that too. With our Roth, we bought a house together, and 50% Roth IRA and 50% Roth IRA from me too. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so we've actually experienced that as well.
And now, do you still hold that property, or have you since sold that property?
No, that one we're holding because, especially, if you have a Roth IRA, which I suggest everybody try to do these Roths because it's tax-free money. As soon as you hit 59 and a half, then the rental income is tax-free, the house is tax-free. We had bought, it was a very big house. It was like 3,000 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with our Roth. We only paid 110. It's now worth probably 550,000, and that's all tax free if we go ahead and sell it. But right now we're making very good profit because of how little we paid for it, and it's making 3,000 a month in income. So that's $1,500 a piece. Richard's not quite 59 and a half yet. I'm a cougar. I read 59 and a half long time ago, so I can pull on mine, but he's still waiting till he can pull on his.
Okay. So and now let's transition a bit, Lorraine.
Mhm.
And by the way, thank you for sharing that. I think it's a phenomenal story to demonstrate how, spouses can team up together and can invest together and create wealth together. Now and with respect to the Roth IRA, I think absolutely you couldn't have said it better. The ability to be able to create tax-free profit and take money out tax-free after 59 and a half. We like to say compounding interest in the absence of taxation. So let's transition away from the investments for just a moment and talk about what does this do? I understand that your philosophy from an investment perspective is to make impacts on the community. Can you share with us a little bit about some of the things from a community perspective that you've been able to make an impact on?
Well, in the downturn, which is 2008, 2009, I mean, you saw like where an area that we were living in Fort Myers, 1 in 3 houses were getting foreclosed on. I mean, it was just tremendous loss for so many people. And so what happened is when we bought properties, there was builders weren't getting anything done. Nobody was hiring anybody. And so we met air conditioning guys, builders, painters, um, the sewer systems. Here there's a lot of sewer system problems. So we met the different companies and the different people who own those companies. And so what happened was we kept them in business in a lot of different ways, because when you did buy these houses, they needed renovating. And of course you use other people you cannot do it yourself because it's in an IRA. And so those actual companies we still work with to this day. And when we call, it's always, hi, Lorraine, how, Richard? And yes, I'll go do that tomorrow or today. They can tend to drop wherever they are doing, like the tiling person and the air conditioning person. They just have always had our backs, basically, because we helped them out when they needed the business. And now there's the booming business down here, but they still remember they were there when we needed them. And then with the renters, what we tried to do is, because they were foreclosed on, and these are decent people who just bought at the wrong time. And so what we would do is we would keep the rent exactly the same for up to 5 years, as long as they maintain the houses. And that ended up being a really good relationship for the longest time.
And talk to us a little bit about the challenges that you faced, maybe even in the very beginning days of using a self-directed IRA, and how you overcame those challenges.
I think it's just like learning that you can't just walk in and just do it yourself. You have to find people to paint the house, but you are allowed to go in and monitor to make sure that the work is being done. Um, and I think that's one of the things that when I met people that were going, "What do you mean I can't fix up my own house because it's more expensive?" Well, yes, it is more expensive than doing it yourself. But you have to stand back and you have to follow the rules. I think too is just I do spreadsheets. I know it's old fashioned, but I do Excel spreadsheets, and that's how I could monitor everything, know exactly what was going on. Because at one time we had up to 15 properties, and so that was a lot to maintain. I found that I ended up getting up early in the morning before the children went to school and spend like 3 hours on just plugging in all the numbers and everything that you're doing. And so you have to be cautious who you can use and who you can't. And like, you can't just, somebody, if you like the condo, everybody's like, "Oh, can go and live in your condo." No, you can't, because family cannot live in your condo. And so that was an adjustment. Then I found out that sister-in-laws are exempt. And I thought, well, that's okay. So you have to find the right person, or especially if you end up paying directly. Here, a lot of people want cash, and that's a problem. And then you tell them, "No, you got to get this check from the self-directed IRA." And so eventually, you end up learning the tax laws, but it takes a long time, I think. It took us about a year to figure everything out to make sure that it ran smoothly.
Outstanding. And certainly there are ways to accelerate that learning curve,
Right.
and through education and training. And you've done a lot of that over the years. And I think you guys are a great example of, going out and getting the information and researching. And fortunately, now today, you and Richard started many, many years ago. Now today, with the advancements of technology and the advancements in
Right.
education, we can help investors sort of accelerate that learning curve. And I'll say thank you, Lorraine, because you've done a great job in a lot of the interviews that we've done over the years, sharing these stories. And that is immensely helpful to those that are new to self-directed IRA investing. So I wanted to make sure I give you and Richard a big thank you for that. Last question for you, Lorraine. I understand that you have children and recently have graduated. What does this self-directed IRA investing mean for you and your family, your children, and other loved ones?
Well, because of the way that we structured everything, Richard was only 48 when he retired. And so through their teen years, we've actually been able to be around and to look after them. All of them graduated together, all four of them. They've watched, and now they already talking about investments. They're talking about Bitcoin, which is like, oh, over my head. But because of the way that we have structured everything, is that they want to do the same things. And so they're looking into where do I put my money to build it up. The couple of companies that they work for, they have to be 19 before they start IRAs, but they can start their Roth IRAs, and they realize that. And so I think that's what they've learned from us, is that you start off small. It don't have to make $1 million overnight. It took us a long time. And then once we ended up doing the self-directed IRA, which I meet people to this day, and they say, "I've gone to a couple of meetings, but does it really work?" And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. They don't think it's going to really work. And so you have to plunge in and then find out, yes, it does. And that within 5 years, we could retire. We went from working, 60, 70 hours a week to retirement in 5 years because of self-directed IRAs and equity trust. So there you go. So thank you too.
Oh, outstanding. I appreciate that message, Lorraine. And it's always great to have you in our interview room here and on our Investing with a Purpose show. I did a great job demonstrating, what self-directed IRA means to you and your family and your community. So I do appreciate that. Certainly tell Richard we said hello. Only last item in conclusion here, Lorraine, any words of, you already given a lot of great words of wisdom. I think plunging in, that was a great takeaway for me. I have written down here. But any other last words of wisdom for our viewers today?
Well, I think that it does work. I think a lot of people, even though I've done a lot of education on even around this neighborhood, people are very skeptical. If it sounds too good to be true, then they say, well, it's too good to be true. But a couple of people have come over and I've showed them the spreadsheet, showed them how we've actually done it, given actually the numbers, and then they've gone out and I think they actually have joined Equity Trust. And that's the thing, is do your own self-research. Always on the bottom, Equity Trust always says, do your own research, which is a very good advice. But it does work. We proved that it worked. And now, we're sitting very comfortable and know exactly what we're doing, I think. And so that's why we keep on teaching. When we started, I was teaching brokers how to do this because they had no idea what self-directed IRAs. Now, a lot of investors are using it. And there's not just houses. You can diverse into so many different things the way you feel comfortable.
Outstanding. Well, once again, Lorraine, I do appreciate it for all of our viewers out there. As Lorraine mentioned, I think the takeaways are, plunge in, feet first. Definitely do your due diligence. That's really important. I appreciate you mentioning that, Lorraine. But get started and take action. So with that being said, thank you everyone for joining us in our Investing with a Purpose show here at Equity Trust Company. Again, I'm John Bowens, and until the next program, keep leveraging compounding interest in the absence of taxation.